Tale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Happy Diwali, everybody. Been a long time since I've been with you all in Houston, but it's an auspicious time to get together on the occasion of Diwali. This is my third class today speaking about Diwali, so I'm going to do this a little differently than the other two classes. I hope that's okay. If you're interested to hear the full description from the Ramayana section describing Diwali, you can check the YouTube channel and hear the full description. For now, the Diwali day is honored in different parts of India in different ways. Of course, central and most prominent is what we are doing all over the world in ISKCON is celebrating Diwali as Ram's return to Ayodhya. But just speaking broadly first, even during Krishna's pastimes, he observed Diwali. That is, of course, Krishna's pastimes come after Ram's pastimes chronologically. According to Rupa Goswami's writing in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra take place in the 24th Yuga cycle of Vaivasvata Manu, and of course Krishna's pastimes take place during this 27th Yuga cycle of Vaivasvata Manu. So that's a lot of Yuga cycles. It's a lot of time between the two pastimes. That is to say, Diwali is a great celebration. Here's a very nice story about Diwali that's different than Ram's return to Ayodhya. This is described by Rupa Goswami in his writings, based upon some verses found in Bhavishya Purana. The pastime has to do with Radha binding Krishna, not Yasoda binding Krishna, but Radha binding Krishna on Diwali day. The pastime goes like this. At Nanda Maharaja's home, there was a big festival on Diwali day. And because of that big festival, Krishna was participating. Purnamasi, as most of you know, Purnamasi is the personification of the Lord's pleasure potency, his pastime potency, Yogamaya. So Purnamasi was arranging the festival, Krishna was participating, and the time set for meeting with Radha, he was delayed. When he finally reached the home, the Sanskrit of the verse by Rupa Goswami says, Radha Griha, meaning specifically, he went to Radha's home, and let's assume it's during their childhood pastime. It doesn't say that specifically, but Varsana, he went to see Radha, and he was late. And Radha looked at him in a very angry mood. She frowned, and she took a cloth, a belt, a sash from around her waist, and tied it on Krishna's waist to admonish him. And Krishna was very happy. And Krishna said, this name that my name, Damodar, now has even more meaning to me because of this wonderful pastime of yours. Sometime in the future, in the material world, Mother Jasoda will also bind me in this way. And those who call this name Damodar will receive great spiritual benefit. Could we move the sticks of incense as it's causing irritation to my throat? Just take the apple and the sticks of incense and take it out of here. Thank you. So a special pastime on Diwali day. And in India today, in different parts of India, different glorification of Diwali is observed according to culture and time and place. So we'll speak a little bit about the Ram's pastime of Diwali. As most of you know, probably everyone knows, in Ramayana there was a series of good fortune and ill fortune, just as happened in life. And the good fortune was Dasarath finally, after 60,000 years, by the grace of Rishishringa, had a special sacrifice performed, and 4 sons were born, finally. And the eldest of those 4 sons, they were all born on the same day from different mothers, but Ram was the eldest, so he, according to the natural law, was to become the next king. And when the time came for his enthroning as the next incumbent king, great misfortune came. Kaikeyi, under the influence of mantra, Kaikeyi requested the 2 boons that her husband had promised, and the result of those 2 boons was the great misfortune. Not only Ram would not become a king, but he would be exiled into the forest for 14 years. And the whole Ramayana is centered on, the remaining part of the Ramayana is centered on that event, what happened after Ram left Ayodhya. And in the course of all that great misfortune, the residents of Ayodhya were feeling intense separation. Not just his mother and father, Dasarath lost his life out of separation from Ram, but the other residents of Vrindavan, it was the whole of Ayodhya became like a ghost town, became empty, and the sadness and the bustling and joy and everything that had been the life of Ayodhya was gone, as if life had been taken from the body, because Ram was no longer there. And they somehow endured, most of them, for that 14-year period. And when Ram returns, this is what Diwali signifies, the returning of Ram back to Ayodhya. And traditionally, Diwali is celebrated by placing lamps everywhere. I had the experience once of traveling by train in India on Diwali evening. And it was really amazing, just looking out the train window and seeing every single house had many, 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 many lamps lit in the windows. The whole of India was celebrating Diwali. It was really nice. Lots of firecrackers too, but celebration with deepas or lamps. And these lamps symbolize or represent the love that the residents of Ayodhya had for Ram, and in turn for the many, many, many thousands of lamps that were lit, offering their hearts with light to Ram. Ram is reciprocating with each and every one. Now, in the life of devotion to the personality of Godhead, both with Krishna and with Ram, there are these two parts. There's meeting and there's separation. A relationship that doesn't have both meeting and separation is incomplete. It's just, there's no such thing as a relationship that's only meeting and no separation. And in Ram's Leela, it's a very prominent feeling of transcendental separation, vilamba, again and again in so many ways. Each of the persons, when Ram left, each person by person that Ram informed them he's leaving, and they came to disbelieve that he would be leaving, and the citizens in general and the ministers and everybody bereft the feelings of separation from Ram. And when he returns, such joy. A practical application of how this applies in our lives is there's a natural joy we find in Bhagavad Gita. We were just discussing a little bit earlier here in this home. There's a natural joy of being in a relationship with a loving person, and what to speak of the supreme loving person. The misfortune in our present circumstance is that devastation of separation from Ram is something we're not even aware of. The emptiness, the hollowness, the incompleteness. Those of you that are a little bit in touch with the social conditions and even medical and psychological conditions of the modern society, sadness, depression, anxiety, fear, uncertainty, not just COVID uncertainty. What's certain in our present time? What can we say is certain besides chaos? And can the girls stop giggling? It's distracting. Sorry, our Houston devotees. There's girls having little girl time together. There's an emptiness within the core of heart of so many people. And what is being done to address it? Obsessing about it is one of people, anxiety disorders is one of the largest medical fields today of various kinds of anxiety and depression disorders. Or persons pursuing more or better or new improved versions, filling that big gap that's in the heart with something that doesn't fill what's in the heart. Accelerating the pace of pursuit of material happiness as a substitute for what's really missing. So one of the best ways of observing Diwali, or as we do in ISKCON, I know tomorrow Guru Prasad Swami is going to be speaking about the Dhamma dharavila, and we also, all month, we offer a lamp to Damodar and sing the Damodar Astakam song in all of our centers and homes all around the world in so many languages recite the translation. But the more than the offering a lamp, the act, the ritual of lamp offering is recognizing what's really missing, and that sense of connection, the sense of samvoga or meeting or being connected with in our relationship with the personality of Godhead. Recognizing that there's a paucity. That's really what's missing. And giving attention to that which is really missing so that we can feel the true sense of connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's really what the spirit of Diwali is in terms of Ram's returning to Ayodhya. I'll just spend a little bit of time in relation to the whole of the Ramayana. The commentators, Sri Vaishnava Acharya commentators speaking about Ramayana, address this. One of the particular turning points in Ramayana is where Sita desires to be an independent enjoyer from Ram. I mean, not explicitly, but implicitly, where by the trick of Ravan, Richa comes and the golden deer shows itself. And Sita starts speaking very much out of character from Sita's real character. She starts speaking like a soul who wants to enjoy independently something of this world apart from Ram. I mean, she's not saying, I want to leave you. She's saying, oh, look, wouldn't it be nice? Can you get that deer for me? We can take that deer. The end of our exile is coming to a close, and we can bring back to the garden in Ayodhya, and how nice it will be. You know how much I like animal life and this wonderful deer. Ram, can you get me the deer? Ram, can you get me the deer? And Lakshman says, wait a minute. That's not a deer. That's Maricha. Because Maricha already had the reputation of assuming the form of a deer, and there's no such creature as that deer. It's Maricha. No, don't go. It's a trick. And she not only doesn't respond and thereby just dismisses Lakshman, she goes on saying, well, even if you can't catch the deer, then you can kill the deer, and then we go back to Ayodhya, and together we can sit on the deer skin. That's not Sita. That's an enjoyer of the affairs or the objects of this world. That's the conditioned living entity. According to the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas, of course I'm speaking this in a certain way, but they mark this moment is the moment of Sita taking on the function like a jiva that strays from the shelter, from the real position of happiness. This comes back to what I was saying, what Diwali really means, or the offering of lamp really means. It's extending that which is of the heart and in the heart to the Supreme Lord as a loving offering, that's what he wants, and that's what he accepts, not just a lamp. It's the loving offering. Big difference between doing a ritual and extending loving offering. Diwali marks the return of Sita, not only Ram back to Ayodhya, but Sita back into the protection of the personality of Godhead, Lord Ramachandra, or the living entity returning back to the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is a celebration. This is a most worthy celebration. And getting practical once again. We're living day-to-day lives, dealing with a lot of uncertainty and a world that's very harsh and very chaotic. And who knows what's going to happen next. And sure enough, it's worse than what you thought it might be. It's been like that for too long. It's very, it's an unpleasant atmosphere, everyone knows very well. And to pretend that it's not an unpleasant atmosphere is very foolish. And then what's going on inside? In other words, the shelters outside are very flimsy. Someone in our room recently lost their job, and it was shocking and hard. Lots of people are without jobs. Some people are without their lives. Some people are without, we know too well, the deprivation, the turmoil that's all surrounding us. And if there isn't something very secure inside, where do you take shelter? Where's contentment? Where's the hope? Where's the next? Where do you put your next step going forward? Taking shelter of the Supreme Person, returning to that place of genuine shelter, not just because of turmoil circumstances, but permanent taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There may be some period, in the case of Ram's exile, 14 years is a long time. But when Ram returns, or there's reconnection with Ram, what a great festival. So, that's what Diwali represents. And apply it, please, in a thoughtful way to our modern circumstance. So now we're going to go back to a very different way of speaking about Diwali. In different parts of India, Diwali is observed in different ways. I'm going to read something that's written by Sanatana Goswami in his Kartik Mahatmya. It's a short text, but in different calendar days, something very similar to Hari Bhakti Vilas, he describes ways in which one can observe the Kartik month. And specifically for the Amavasya, this dark moon night, has a particular kind of observance for the month of Kartik, along with the Diwali observance we just spoke about. I'm just going to read a translation. On this day, everyone, except for children and the diseased, should fast and worship Lakshmi at the time of Pradosha. Pradosha means twilight. So the time between when the sun sets and it's dark. It's one muhurta, 48 minutes. So twilight. It's not dark yet, but the sun is not on the horizon still. That's called Pradosha. So during that 48 minutes muhurta, the honoring of Lakshmi is recommended. This is Sanatana Goswami. O Brahmanas, at that time of Pradosha, one should arrange a string of deepas or lamps, and then awaking the sleeping Lakshmi. Then it gives a mantra in Sanskrit, which translates, "You are the light, you are the sun and moon, you are lightning, you are gold, and you are the stars. You are the light of all luminous objects. I bow down to you who are present in the light of this Deepa." It's worship of Lakshmi. O Brahmanas, ladies should wake Kamala Devi by reciting this mantra and offer Deepas, and only then have their meal on this occasion, so fasting until that twilight time. This Amavasa in the Kartik month is a special way of observing it. And one who does this will be, this is a Vaishnava practice. It's not a Karmakanda practice. It's taken from Padma Purana and a discussion between Krishna and Satyabhama, and Sanatana Goswami refers to it. There are other places in India, some of you may be from that part of India, where the battle between Krishna and Narakasura took place. We had this discussion with some devotees in Portland today, where someone said, in the place of India that I'm from, Diwali, or the Amavasya day, the dark moon night of this month of Kartik, that's how we observe it. So I'm just going to read some passages, if you don't mind, straight from Srimad Bhagavatam. On this day, this battle with Narakasura took place. I hope you enjoy hearing Shukadeva Goswami narrating Krishna's pastimes. That is the pastime where Krishna rescued the 16,000 princesses who were in the grip of Narakasura. The battle with Narakasura took place on this day. Here's the chapter summary, not the verse by verse. Lord Krishna killed Narakasura, the son of the earth goddess, and married the thousands of maidens the demon had kidnapped. After Narakasura stole Lord Varuna's umbrella, Mother Aditi's earrings, and the playground of the demigods known as Mani Parvat, Indra went to Dwarka and described Narakasura's transgressions to Krishna. Immediately, Krishna and Satyabhama mounted Garuda and traveled to the capital of Narakasura's kingdom. On the field outside the capital, he decapitated the Mura demon with his Sudarshan disc, one of the weapons of Vishnu. Then he fought Mura's 7 sons and sent them all to the abode of death, after which Narakasura himself entered the battlefield on the back of an elephant. Naraka threw his Shakti lance at Krishna, but the weapon proved ineffective, and the Lord cut the demon's entire army to pieces. Finally, with a sharp-edged disc, Krishna cut off Narakasura's head. So that happened on the Diwali day. Something else that happened. The mother of Narakasura, whose name was Prithvi, the earth personified, approached Krishna and gave various items that Narakasura had stolen. Remember the items he stole, Aditi's earrings and so forth. She offered prayers to the Lord and presented Narakasura's frightened son at Lord Krishna's lotus feet. After pacifying the demon's son, Krishna entered Narakasura's palace. He ended up marrying the 16,000 princesses. He went back to Indraloka to return Aditi's earrings. And when he was there, Satyabhama said, "Can I get a parijata tree to bring back to Dwarka?" And then some other things happened. So on this Diwali day, in some parts of India, Diwali is honored as we honored in ISKCON. We honor the way that we describe this offering of lamp to Lord Ram, or the offering, as you'll hear more tomorrow, the offering of a lamp to Lord Damodar. On this very same Diwali day, the Amavasa day of this month of Kartik, is where from the churning of the milk ocean, Lakshmi, the worldly Lakshmi, because there's the transcendental Lakshmi, but the worldly opulence Lakshmi made her appearance from the milk ocean on this very day. Here's a description from Srimad Bhagavatam on Lakshmi's appearance. Then there appeared, this is Canto 8, Chapter 8, Text 8. Just double check. Yeah. The goddess of fortune, Rama, who is absolutely dedicated to being enjoyed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared. She appeared like electricity, surpassing the lightning that might illuminate a marble mountain. Because of her exquisite beauty, her bodily features, her youth, her complexion, and her glories, everyone, including the demigods, the demons, and human beings, desired her. They were attracted because she is the source of all opulence. The king of heaven, Indra, brought a suitable sitting place for the goddess of fortune. All the rivers of sacred water, such as Ganges and Yamuna, personified themselves, and each of them brought pure water in golden water pots for Mother Lakshmi. the goddess of fortune. The land became a person and collected all the drugs and herbs needed for installing the deity. Cows delivered 5 products. It gives the Panchagavya items. And spring personified collected everything produced in spring. The great sages performed the bathing ceremony of the goddess of fortune. It's like a deity installation. The texts go on. So there are some parts of India that observe Diwali in this way. It's a festival for honoring the goddess of fortune on Diwali day. Of course, if you're from Bengal, maybe some of you are from Bengal, it's Kali Puja. And Kali Puja has its plus and minus. On the dark moon night is when goats are sacrificed to goddess Kali. And there's some consequences for those who do that. But that's for some parts of India. Diwali doesn't go exactly. The Amavasya day of this month of Kartik is a very special time for Kali worshippers. According to one presentation, now I searched and I couldn't find the reference. I read a lot of Mahabharata today, but couldn't find the reference. But one reference source says that in Mahabharata, when the Pandavas were in exile for 12 years, when they finally returned to their capital, they were received very warmly and affectionately by a festival of lights, similar to Ram's return back to Ayodhya. And of course, we have the Dhamma dharavila. Now, unless we read the teachings of our acharyas very carefully, it's not explicitly in Srimad Bhagavatam that this event took place in Diwali, but our acharyas, Jiva Goswami and Sanatan Goswami in particular, speak of the Dhamma dharavila. And I know that Guru Prasad Swami is going to be speaking about it tomorrow, but I have to say something. So I'll just speak a little bit. According to Jiva Goswami, Mother Yasoda had been hearing reports of the childhood pastimes of Krishna, where practically as soon as he could walk, he was busy with his friends, going to the storerooms of the neighboring cowherds and stealing butter, because he was very fond of especially fresh butter. He was a connoisseur of fresh butter. And he liked. And he would steal butter and steal butter and steal butter in so many clever ways. And so that's chapter 8, is that description of Makkanchor pastimes, the butter thief pastimes. And Mother Yasoda had been hearing about this so much that she came to the conclusion, it must be that the ladies who are assisting me in making butter don't know how to do it properly. So she then made a firm determination she would do it herself, because she was very expert. So there's different explanations, but one of them that's simplest is out of the 900,000 cows that Nanda Maharaj had, she knew them all by name, by groups, but also within the groups by name. And there were 7 or 8 very special cows that gave very special milk. And she knew which grasses to feed to which cows to make which flavor of milk. So the previous day, she personally fed the cows special grass. And then in the evening, she milked the cows. And then the next morning, early morning, she was busy making butter for Krishna. And it was Diwali day. So at least one version, there's 2 versions. One says that they were busy doing other household duties. Another version says she just gave them the day off. Look, it's Diwali. Be with your families, have a nice festival. I'll take care of these needs of Krishna today. So there she was, churning butter, and that's when the Dhamma dharavila took place on this Diwali day. So it means Diwali is the Kartik is a very special month. Just sharing with all of you, because it's the Kartik month or Damodar month. So far for this month, it's now the 14th, but starting on the 1st, we've been having morning and evening classes going through in detail, the pastimes and commentary of the pastimes about Lord Damodar. And one of the questions that occurs and comes up again and again, what's so special about this month that we're spending so much time with Damodar? And it has everything to do with, I'm sure Guru Prasad Swami will speak about it tomorrow, but that's okay to hear it multiple times. It's the intensity of Mother Yasoda's love. It directly connects with Diwali, because those who are associates of Lord Ram, largely those who are involved in Ram's pastimes in Ayodhya, like Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, they're Nitya Siddha devotees. They're eternally perfect devotees. And that's pretty amazing. What's an eternally perfect devotee doing in the material world? They're exhibiting pastimes of love with the personality of Godhead to show us conditioned souls, to attract us conditioned souls to that quality of life. Because we have invested our sense of happiness and our sense of love in temporary things. Our attachment, our ashraya, or our asakti, our attachments and our shelters, are temporary things. And they're all very flimsy. Now you see it, blink, and it's gone. And you don't even have to blink, and it's gone. And the object of affection, the emotion of affection, the whole show, you blink and it's gone. And that's material life. And the eternal associates of Ram and the eternal associates of Krishna are showing us the alternative. They also have meeting and separation. And but the object of their attachment is that which is eternal, not that which is temporary. They're really intelligent. I'll say it again. Their object of attachment is that which is eternal, not temporary. And we're in the category of foolish. We're in the category of those who are attached to the temporary. And when you're attached to the temporary, not only you're foolish, but you're guaranteed you're going to suffer. Totally unnecessarily. Guaranteed you're going to suffer totally unnecessarily. And we're stuck. We're stuck in suffering indefinitely. Who knows how many lifetimes we've been doing it? Who knows how many more lifetimes we'll continue to do it? And we're stuck. We can whine and complain, or we can feel desperate and filled with anxiety, or we can take shelter of the personality of Godhead. And these pastimes, eternal pastimes with eternal associates, are to attract our hearts and minds again to that position. Specifically within the Bhagavatam, it says, the verses of the Bhagavatam says that the pastimes of Krishna are such that even just hearing about them, what to speak of those who directly experience them, but just to hear about them can carry one beyond this attachment to the temporary. Small thing, become attached to the eternal instead of to the temporary. And then you have eternal life and eternal happiness because the object is eternal. There's still meeting and separation. then the Diwali festival is there. Or the honoring of Krishna, not just killing Narakasura, but reuniting the 16,000 princesses with Krishna. Here's a detail. I'll end with this. In the course of hearing these wonderful descriptions of Dhamma dharavila, not only Krishna can simultaneously manifest himself as the biggest and the smallest, or so big that he has no exterior, all the ropes that Mother Jasoda can get together won't go around him, but then he also has the size of a small child. Simultaneously, in reverse, he has the size of a 3-year-old child. Think of some little boy that's 3 years old. And she has 150 feet of rope and it doesn't go around his waist. Simultaneously, the body of a small child, unlimitedly big, simultaneously. And what is it that makes the difference? It's the great determination of love of Mother Jasoda, or residents of Ayodhya, the great determination of the residents of Ayodhya to again have Ram return. And he returns. And he stays for 11,000 years and rules. And there's joy and happiness. But then there's also meeting and separation. Meeting and separation in different ways. And Ram reciprocates in different ways for that meeting and separation, because that's loving relationship. But the object is eternal. The object is the supreme object. And all the citizens of Ayodhya and all the citizens of Vrindavan are connected in love to that object, and are hearing these pastimes during the Kartik month in particular, because the whole month is auspicious. But hearing about this unique kind of love of the residents of Ayodhya, the residents of Vrindavan, for the personality of Godhead, it attracts the heart and the mind to leave behind our attachment to the temporary. That's spiritual progress. Leave behind attachment. We love ourselves, but not with attachment to the temporary, and learn to become, through hearing process and serving process and associating with other devotees process, become attached to the eternal. That's the Diwali festival. So those are some thoughts. And let's see if there's some discussion. I don't know how this is going to work. If those of you that want to raise a question, I think there's a way you can unmute yourself and you can speak, and hopefully we can hear you speak. An alternative is you can send something to the chat box and we can read out your question that way. So if there's anybody that would like to, we'll pause a little bit, because it generally takes a little bit of time for some questions to come. And I know you have your cut-off time, and so do I. So we'll have about 15 minutes.
Rajendra Prabhu, would you like to unmute yourself and speak? Hare Krishna. Cannot hear you.
Since we can't hear you, do you want to send something in to the chat box and we'll read it out?
Want to put something on the chat message? I can read it out. Cannot hear. Hare Krishna. Would you mind typing down on chat because we can hear you? There is question on the YouTube channel.
Okay.
Question from Sucharita Mataji. Guru Maharaj, as I read Gita today morning, I got a question. Please forgive me for asking unrelated question. We are spirit soul, but why it is said processes like Shravana, Kirtanam, etc. cleanse the heart? Heart is of body conception. Why it is said heart is cleansed spiritual process?
The cleansing of the heart doesn't mean like a blood transfusion or something. What dialysis is, you take out everything that's in your liver and flush it out. So it's not like, heart's got unclean blood and you put clean blood in place of the dirty blood. That's not what heart cleansing means. It's a poetic expression. The heart. Sometimes the heart and the mind are used interchangeably. Sometimes they're used differently. Cheta darpanamarjanam, cleansing the mirror of the mind or cleansing the heart. So commonly the heart means, what's the seat of your deepest convictions. And when we hold material conceptions of life, then the heart becomes constricted, and we cleanse those material conceptions of life. The heart becomes more open and more receptive to spiritual understanding. Again, when the heart is closed, spiritual understanding just bounces. It doesn't go in. It's just like water on a rock. It just doesn't go in. But when the heart becomes cleansed, it becomes softer, and we can start to assimilate in and absorb spiritual understanding better. So it's a metaphorical expression, not a biological one.
Next question from Sanchari Mataji. Guru Maharaj, I've heard that Satyabhama was instrumental in killing the Narakasura demon. Can you please elaborate on this aspect of the pastime?
Well, she was present, but she didn't do any of the killing. So unfortunately, Houston devotees, it seems that we're having our technology conflict, and it's not getting resolved. And so
there are more questions coming in on YouTube.
We have YouTube questions, and if it's all right, we'll just read the YouTube questions until our time runs out.
How to maintain attachment to eternal or make it consistent? Do we have to hear the pastimes regularly to maintain that spiritual attachment? This
Yes.
is from Palla Mataji.
Yeah. Name, form, quality, loving exchanges, see the deity form. We need regularity in our spiritual practice, yes. Because otherwise, the long-standing tendencies of forgetfulness will start to clutter up again. We need regular hearing.
Question is from Shashi Rekha Mataji. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I grew up worshipping Goddess Lakshmi on the occasion of Diwali day. But I have heard in lecture that once devotees worship Krishna, there is no need to worship Lakshmi. Because by worshipping Krishna, Lakshmi gets pleased as Lakshmi resides in the heart of Narayan. So my question is, Lakshmi Puja can be skipped on Diwali day?
Why don't you worship Damodar? Or worship Lord Ram? And because when you worship Damodar, it's Radha Damodar. When you worship Ram, it's Sita Ram. And Lakshmi is already included by worshipping Radha Damodar or Yasoda Damodar.
I think what Houston devotees have done is that they are using Zoom as a mechanism to transmit into their channel. So there's no one actually hearing from Zoom directly. That's the reason they do not have a mechanism to ask them.
Okay.
That's what my understanding.
Because these are devotees from Houston that are asking the questions.
So they are logged into your YouTube channel.
Okay. So we're done? Anyone here in the room? You have something? Where's our celebrated junior over here? You can do now. You can do now. We have 5 minutes.
This is about the point that the question that my dad made about timing. I think about the demigods having like one day of ours is something in the heavens. So when Krishna was performing, when Brahma stole all the coward boys from, what do you call it? From the, yeah, you know.
Yes, I know what you mean, yeah.
1 year has passed and on earth, and when Brahma looks back, it's only 1 second. And while he's communicating, it's more than a second. So then more than 1 year has passed on earth. And then when he comes down, it's very confusing for me.
Yeah, it's confusing for me too.
As he speaks, then, because then as he speaks or as he thinks, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, a billion years, it's gonna pass.
Well, the idea that one second passed is not stated like that. 1 second is not stated like that. So if you try to do the math and say if 1 second is 1 year, then, it's not 1 second. No, I'd have to go back and look and see what duration of time is certainly a short time. Certainly a short time. But demigod time and Brahma time is not the same either.
Yeah, I know. The demigod's time is different because
yes, it's
time
different.
is like higher.
Yeah, Brahma's time is higher. That's right. But but just doing the math between however long Brahma's time passed and 1 year on earth passed, I'd want to go back and look at the Bhagavatam to see what's the math.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, we're done. Thank you very much, everybody in Houston. Sorry for our technology problem. Prabhupada Ki.
There is a comment from Saranga Thakur Prabhu.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. This is Saranga Thakur Das from Houston. On behalf of the devotees of ISKCON Houston, we would like to thank you for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna, thank you for joining. And have a nice festival the rest of the evening, I'm sure. And tomorrow too. Govardhan Puja. Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Return of Romapada Swami Maharaj ki